Welcome to today's Market Movers video, where I give my opinion and analyse the top transfers in and out of everyone's FPL teams. So, without further ado, let's get stuck into another Fantasy Premier League video. Of course, we understand now the official ban to Matheus Cunha is for 2 matches. He's going to miss one of those in the Premier League against Forest at home this week and another in a cup fixture for Wolves. So he will be available from game week 21 onwards. Now, he did come off at half-time against Tottenham. There was a slight issue with him reaching full speed in a sprint. He spoke to his manager about this. The sub was made, he came off at half-time and had an ice pack on kind of the back of his knee area. We literally don't know too much more than that for the injury news for Matheus Cunha. Him as an asset, of course, we're analysing him as a sell, buy or keep here. I personally think he's a sell. I'm going to be selling him at my FPL team for a cheaper forward with better fixtures. I think the bottom line of my decision making to sell Matheus Cunha is the fixtures aren't great. There are other players out there who are doing just as well as Matheus Cunha at the moment and have better fixtures, so I'm going to go with them because I think they're going to score more points. I just can't see, with that fixture run of Newcastle away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Villa at home actually isn't too bad in my opinion, and then Liverpool away, I just don't see the points there for Matheus Cunha. I guarantee I will probably end up on Matheus Cunha later on in the season when better fixtures come, because he is just a great asset in FPL. But with those fixtures, the injury, I'm just not feeling him at the moment. I think I'm going to sell him. Of course, we just spoke about Matheus Cunha, and I actually think Chris Wood is one of my favourite replacements for Matheus Cunha this week in FPL. Personally, I think the fixture run is pretty decent. Some of the fixtures in there aren't amazing, especially that Liverpool at home fixture. I personally can bench him in my FPL team for João Pedro and play João Pedro against Ipswich when Chris Wood plays Liverpool at home. I mean, it is a home fixture. They have beaten Liverpool at Anfield, so maybe it's actually not a bad fixture, but personally I would look to bench him for that one. But his data isn't exactly world-beating. He just gets a lot of goals. He is the primary target for Forest, and I think as an asset, he's a player that I'm looking to get in my team desperately. I really want Chris Wood, especially from game week 22 onwards, if I decide not to bring him in this game week. Personally, I think he's a buy, and I quite like the look of Chris Wood for game week 20 in FPL. Now, with last week's benching and that one-on-one opportunity missed by Nicholas Jackson when he came onto the pitch, I can understand why a lot of FPL managers are frustrated with the guy. For me personally, if I owned Nicholas Jackson, I actually think I would just keep a hold of him. If you're selling him to move to a player like Isak, or free up some money to go somewhere like Trent this week even, I understand that transfer. But with the forward options in the game right now, there are not too many options as forwards that are much better than Nicholas Jackson. I think with the yellow card threshold being extended now to 10 yellow cards, we're going to see a lot more minutes from Nicholas Jackson. There's not going to be as much caution from Enzo Maresca about Nicholas Jackson, because, of course, if he did get that 5th yellow card, he would have been banned, and it would have been a big loss for Chelsea in those fixtures. As well with Chelsea, the form recently has dropped. A draw, a loss, and a loss against teams you should probably go ahead and beat isn't ideal, and if you want to sell him because of that reason, I understand that as well. But I feel as though with the options in FPL at the moment, with the forward line, there's just not a lot of guys that are big upgrades on Nicholas Jackson. So I think I would just keep a hold of him this game week. But if you are looking to move down in price point to upgrade somewhere else, I do understand the move. Anthony Gordon is gaining a lot of attention in FPL right now, and rightly so. In his last 7 fixtures, he has 6 FPL returns. And of course, with the fixtures at the bottom of the screen there, it's really understandable why people are bringing this guy in. Newcastle have had a big uptick in form. Isak just can't stop scoring. Lewis Hall and the whole Newcastle defence are doing much better. Have a few clean sheets in a row right now. Things are looking good at Newcastle, and I think owning Anthony Gordon in midfield, it just makes a lot of sense right now. At the price point, of course, there is a lot of money kind of floating around with that Saka injury, so I think a lot of people can afford to bring in Anthony Gordon this week. And for me, I think I agree with the managers who are bringing him in. I would personally quite like him in my FPL team, but with the way I'm going in terms of my strategy, I don't think I'll be able to get him in this week in particular. Perhaps in game week 21 or 22, I could look to bring him in. But yeah, a great buy in FPL right now, Anthony Gordon in midfield. Now, I'm going to argue both sides for Morgan Rogers here. I'm going to argue for keeping him. I'm going to argue for selling him. I'm going to start with selling him, though, because obviously he does miss on this week's fixture. It was going to be a great fixture for him, but he isn't available due to getting 5 yellow cards. He then goes on to play Everton away from home, who we know are pretty decent defensively at home, and then Arsenal away from home as well, who Arsenal are one of the best defences in the Premier League at the moment. So I understand the selling of Morgan Rogers in that sense. Personally, though, at 5.5, I would just look to keep him at that price point. No problem at all to bench him. In my eyes, Morgan Rogers is a rotational asset anyway. Yes, he plays most weeks in my FPL team because I believe in him as an asset, and he does return for me quite often. But for me, I would look to keep him. You can bench him for this week. I would play him against Everton away from home, and I would look to play him in 23 onwards with those nice fixtures. But yeah, for me, Morgan Rogers, it did surprise me that a lot of people are selling him, but I actually do understand why people are selling him. But for me, I'd keep him. Of course, we already spoke about Anthony Gordon and Newcastle and how well they're doing as a team at the moment. And I think Lewis Hall is a massive, massive part of that. For me, he's one of their better players at the moment. When I watched Lewis Hall at Crystal Palace, I thought he was an amazing player. And I think we're seeing parts of that kind of game he brought to Palace at Newcastle now. And maybe even better than he did at Palace. He's kind of matured a little bit as a player. Of course, still a young boy, but doing very well for Newcastle at the moment. We spoke about fixtures when we spoke about Anthony Gordon. The fixtures are there for him. The clean sheets have been coming in for Newcastle. I don't think he gets a clean sheet with this fixture in particular, with Tottenham away from home. Yes, Tottenham are just pants, but going forward, they're normally pretty decent under Postecoglou, so I don't see a clean sheet there. But for the other fixtures past that, absolutely, why not? Because Newcastle have been really good defensively, of course. We've seen just last week, in fact, of course, Lewis Hall putting those crosses in and getting a little bit of attack and potential under his belt, which is really, really nice to see. I will personally probably look to get him in from game week 21 onwards if I need a defensive transfer. I don't think I will, though, so I don't think I would end up making that move. But yeah, Lewis Hall for me is a really, really great option to bring in if you need kind of an under 5 million defender. I actually think he's probably the best option under 5 million right now. But yeah, Lewis Hall is a great buy in FPL in my opinion. As always, to outro my videos, I'd like to give you guys at home a big thank you for supporting the FPL Mogs YouTube channel. Of course, if you have enjoyed today's video, drop a like, and if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, please do consider it for future FPL videos and deadline streams. But that is everything for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.